Hi, everybody. Welcome again to our podcast. Working title is Between the Branches, where me
Still a
and
good one.
Jared, I think it's a good one too, but I think that I'm probably just going to keep saying that it's a working title no matter how many episodes we do.
It's always in work, and maybe we just change it up for every episode.
And,
Really
and,
keep
and
people on their
the
toes.
reality is everything is always in flux, so you
Mhm.
never know what's going to happen. So, and it's funny. So, at any rate, I'm George. This is my buddy Jared. We get together every once in a while and we talk about runes and animism and Norse paganism, paganism in general,
Yep.
spirituality topics, stuff like that. And so here we are again for episode number two. Jared, how have you been, man?
Dude, not too bad. I mean, it's been a crazy few weeks, and um, you know, living life day to day. I mean, as we're recording this, it's a couple days before winter solstice,
Yeah,
and
actually is. That's wild.
yeah, and my 13-year wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Yeah, that was quite a hell of a party on the last day of the Mayan calendar in 2012.
Yeah, actually, my anniversary is coming up as well. We're looking at 2007. It'll be 9 years.
Nice.
Yeah,
Goes by fast, right?
it really, really does. I mean, my son turned 18 this year, and that was just absolutely wild. It snuck up on me out of nowhere, but such is life. Time is fleeting. Um, especially when you're watching your kids grow and do things. I was talking to a guy today and told him just he's got 4 kids, and I was like, okay, spend as much time with them as you can
Yeah.
because it goes by way too quick. He's like, yeah, my 13-year-old is always gone or he's tucked away in his room. Like, yeah, that's pretty much what
Yep.
goes on. Yeah,
Sounds about right.
yeah. But that is and it's funny that our conversation naturally goes to something of this nature because the rune that we got into this week was Berkana
Hmm.
and has a lot of fostering energy,
Yeah.
a bit of motherly parenting and stuff like that. And I know we didn't want to go directly into the rune, but I had to acknowledge the fact
No,
that energy popped in.
I was right there with you. You're talking about nurturing and raising children and that growth and so forth. And Berkana has so many of those attributes to it. So I think it's a good segue into the first part of the show. We're going to talk about some animism.
Mm.
So many. We talked a little bit in the first episode. Not many people understand what animism is, or
Oh man,
this
yeah.
is a good time to do it. So
So yeah, animism. I think one of the things that I get the most common reaction that I get out of people when I say something about animism, and they're like, "What, like shape shifting?" No, no, no.
nope.
I get. I mean, when it comes to the Norse pagan perspective, slightly, but not that.
Right.
It's farther more encompassing. That animistic viewpoint is just part of the presence that somebody can portray. Um, but really, when it gets down into it, animism, in my perspective, is, I mean, as simply as you can put it, everything has energy, spirit energy, a soul possibly.
Mhm.
Um, and my viewpoint as well, you could have areas of nature where, yes, the tree is going to have its own energy, the grass will as well, the rocks are, the stream, and all of that. But all of that energy can converge and be something a little bit more manifested. And
Mhm.
some people call that the landvatir or a land white. But I mean, really, when it comes down to it, it's just the spirit of that forest itself converging and coming together. And the first time you experience it, in my opinion, is just super profound. It was the
Yeah.
wildest thing to me. I started going on walks in a nature trail not far away from my house, and there was just one spot, and it wasn't very beautiful, but it had an aspect of every piece of land in the area right there,
Mhm.
and it dawned on me that it was here. I could feel it. It was there, and that was the first time I did what I guess would specifically be called an utaseta. I meditate all the time, and I do ask for projection, but I really just felt it was important to sit down and exist and be quiet and be one with nature for a while. It was really awesome.
Oh, for sure. I love that. I was posed a question a number of years ago when I kind of started my own journey into having animism as a core aspect of my life. And the question that was put in front of me was from my teacher, Kelly Harrell, with her soul tending practices. And it was, is plastic alive? Does plastic have a spirit? And it really got me thinking because, well, what's a primary ingredient in making plastic? Well, petroleum, right?
Hmm.
So where does petroleum come from? It's fossils. And we just keep digging deeper and deeper into this. And all of a sudden, it's not just a piece of plastic, but millions of ancestors, millions of beings that create where we're at today. So when we get in our car, it's not just our car that has this element of life force behind it, but it's being powered by millennium of spirits.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we don't necessarily think of it that way. We always kind of think of this as this one thing, like, oh, the spirit of my car. It's like, but it's not just that. It's hundreds. Like my cousin who passed a couple years ago, got on me for having a fake Christmas tree one year. We have one of the plastic Christmas trees. He's like, "Why would you do that? That's disrespectful. You could have a beautiful live tree in your house." And I'm like, "Well, I could have a single tree spirit in my house, or thousands of dinosaurs hanging out with presents under them and decorated." And it just kind of really got me thinking a little bit of how we view what animism is, and it's not only looking at things as having potentially a soul or a spirit behind it, but really understanding that it's alive, that
Hmm.
that energy gives it a agency and a sense
Right.
of being.
There is some level of animation to everything, is
Hmm.
really what the concept it boils down to. And one thing I wanted to point out for people that may not be aware is that in Northern European tradition, Norse paganism, if you want to call it that, um, the soul is made up of a whole bunch of different parts, and one of them is your lich. Most people would say lich, Lich typically, and that is your body. So what it comes down to is, do you believe that when something decays and turns into what we end up with petroleum, if it still holds that ancestral energy or not? And I've got to say, I've never really thought of it that way. And you're bringing me into a different realm. And I would say, I think there is some validity to that. I wouldn't say it's full on like if you had like somebody's bone, you know.
Right.
I wouldn't say it's quite the same, but it is. There's got to be something there because it is part of it. And what's wild is that it's um, what has to decay brings life, and whether it's processed by man and turned into something that is combustion engine material and propels you across Midgard, or whether it is something that where a tree dies, falls and starts to rot and mushrooms come out of it, and animals kick it around, beavers chew on it, other bugs, termites, they feed on it and
Right.
process all of that goes back into the world around it and feeds that nature energy. In my opinion, I think that really does hold a lot of validity. That it's that is part of the process itself. We're not losing anything really. It's just turning into different form.
Right. And that, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, right? It just
Correct.
changes shape.
Right.
So as and different energies can be applied to it. Like you were just saying with combustion energy. Well, now you're adding fire to these oil spirits or these fossils of spirit, whatever it is, and you're literally lighting a fire under their ass to get something done. you're introducing that spirit. I mean, look at the internet, right?
Yeah.
You know, you're asking thunder beings to activate um,
Yeah.
these tiny particles of gold and ancestors of that make up plastic parts that are in these things. The computer is a marvelous thing,
It really is.
but what's our relationship with it? And that's where the animism part for me comes in. Is that it's not just
Hmm.
about the spirits. It's not just about the energy that everything shares. It's our relationship and our agency with being able to work within um, those confines.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to stop you and go back on something because my brain started going into a different thing. When
Yeah.
you were talking about petroleum ghosts, um, petroleum poltergeist would be a great name for a metal band.
Yes. I 100% am on board with that.
But anyway, back to where you were on the energy and relationship that you have with objects or with systems.
Hmm.
It that's definitely animism. I mean, it starts when you realize, in my opinion, that the relationships that you have with people have their own spirit. You
Hmm.
know, when you break up with a loved one, or your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, and you are sad, it's not just because of that person not being there anymore. It's the energy that you shared with them being broken. It's the lack of that your soul was charged on that some for some in some way. You know, it was receiving that energy, it was reciprocal, and it was back and forth, and now it has that link has been unplugged, and
Right.
that that spirit, in my opinion, has either changed or died.
Hmm. It,
So, but then
no.
back into the computer thing and the relationship that you have with objects,
Hmm.
okay? And I think this is where it gets odd for people when you have man-made objects that you end up having a relationship with, and I don't think it's that weird, honestly. It's something that you, especially if it's something that you come to rely on an everyday basis or even a
Right.
weekly basis, you know. Um, whether it be your wallet. Okay, think about that. Something as simple as your wallet. Yeah, physically and conceptually, it holds all of your ID, possibly your social security card, which you should never do, but I do. Your credit cards and debit cards and all of that stuff, and your health insurance information, all of that. Okay, but also having the wallet in your pocket or in your purse, in your bag, whatever, it gives you a sense of security because you know
Hmm.
where all that vital information is. So that relationship is whole and full and it's right where it's supposed to be. So, and no, most people are like that with their phones. And
Yeah.
I'm a little bit, but I'm more so my wallet. I need to know where my wallet is at
Yep.
all times.
And it can, you know, not only does it create security, it can also create fear when you put it in the wrong pocket.
Oh, yeah. Yes, very much so.
So we've got a whole spectrum of emotions that can create for sure. But
Oh, and then the relief when you finally pat down your legs and you're like,
yes,
okay, I put it in there.
yep.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
like, well, that
yeah,
was dumb. What was I
absolutely.
doing?
I think one of the strongest animistic connections that I make when it comes to objects is stuff that I've made. I've gotten in really heavily into my crafting. It's something that I used to do quite a bit when I was younger, and for some reason I got away from it. I lived in an apartment, didn't really have a place for tools, so it was just something that I didn't get to do as often. I would do wood burning and stuff like that, but it wasn't the same. Somehow it fell off.
Yeah.
And now that I have a garage, I can have a table saw and a workbench and a belt sander. And I'm going to share something real quick. I had this Viking Age reenactment knife, and I hated it. It was shaped super wrong, and it looked like butt. And I changed it, and I altered the shape of it and stuff like that, so that it's a little bit more recognizable as a Viking Age sax.
Okay.
And I put a new handle on it and everything. And this is not a perfect piece of equipment, don't get me wrong. This is just used for reenactment. That's why it's not pointy. I do hit my friends with it and I act like I'm stabbing them, but obviously it can't pierce their skin. However, this is one of those things. I put hours of time and effort into this. and I love it to death. It feels really natural in my hand now, and when I go and I do my training and stuff, it has to be at my side. I need it there. I rely on it because if somebody happens to disarm me or pin my arm up or something of that nature, I need to be able to pull it and stab them in the chest and leave a bruise on my friend. And yeah,
Right.
it's it's different with this with stuff that you make as a guitar player though. I have several guitars, and a lot of them I don't have a relationship with, but there's a few that I have a very special relationship with.
Hmm. Yeah, and the same goes for spiritual tools. Tools that are used in
Yes.
magical practice. They're always going. You can go to you can go to the dollar store and get all sorts of really awesome stuff. And by no means are we saying that you can't set up an altar, set up a ritual space, sacred space
Oh,
by, going somewhere else. But when you make that tool, like you're saying, you're putting that energy into it. Just like in 3.5 edition Dungeons and Dragons, right? I hated the rule that wizards had to lose experience points to craft items. But it's true. There is this element of putting that energy into what it is that you're creating. And you're not only, developing this with the spirits of that tool, like that went into it, whether it's wood or bone or dried fruit, whatever it is,
mhm.
you're blending your essence with that energy. It's kind of one of the reasons why many of us choose to blood our runes.
Right.
You're offering your energy, your personal relationship, a sacrifice in and
Hmm.
of itself. Um, it's not
And
maybe.
people do it in a bunch of different ways too. I've seen it done in a super rudimentary way, and where it's just a wood slice, and they just literally cut their
Mhm.
thumb, or even use a diabetic lancet and put a dot on there.
Yep.
I pricked my finger and I put it into some red paint. Oh, you probably can't see it very
Very
well,
well.
and
Oh yeah.
I did that to all of my runes. They needed to get repainted anyway, and it was time to rededicate them.
So when I
So
do mine, I actually I took a note from my rune teacher and with his work and develop and create an offering paste. And it's a number of different things that I feel called to add in there, and it might be honey and coffee grounds and you know uh, the cremains of my cat. I don't
right,
like
or
things.
some beer or mead that you brewed,
Yeah,
stuff
absolutely.
like that. I get it.
And
Yeah,
we whatever the spirits are asking for at that point in time are kind of what goes into that magic, that offering,
I like it.
because you're combining these spirits
Hmm.
and you're asking their energies to kind of come forward and work
Hmm.
in conjunction with those spirits of the runes, or whatever spirits you're tapping into.
Yeah. One of the one of my favorite rune sets I made for a guy I went to high school with, and from what last time I talked to him, he still uses them to this day. He probably had me make them for him about a decade ago, maybe a little bit more than that. And we have the same hometown. Like I said, we went to high school together, and he had me go and find a specific type of tree from our hometown, and he wanted it made out of that specifically, and it was a Florida scrub oak. And he just had a connection to those trees he's like,
Hmm.
when I go home and I see those trees, I know I'm home. And that
Right.
was something for him. He wanted a piece of anchor to where he grew up and where he developed his spiritual practice, because that's he was doing it in high school. He was the first, well, second person I had ever seen use runes in my entire life.
And that's relationship, right? That's,
Yeah.
relationship with our land spirits, our spirits of place.
Hmm.
There's so many of everything out there just kind of waiting to be communicated with. We've lost touch with that.
Oh,
It's
so much of it. Yeah.
settler culture and European American culture in particular is just
Yeah.
completely lost.
Yeah.
and we just yearn for this connection. That's why I think so many of us have that weird calling of, oh, I have to go back to, Europe. I have to go back to my homeland, whatever it is that
Oh,
we
yeah.
decide to call it.
Well, one of the things I know we've talked about several times, and I still think it's an extremely valid point, over in the States, when a highway needs to get built
Mhm.
or a housing complex needs to get built, they just they pull a permit and they just and do it. Most of the time, there's very minimal consideration for the environment, and now that is changing here and there, and I'm really happy about that. But over in England, in Ireland, Scotland, and large areas of Scandinavia, if they're building a highway and it happens to be going by an area where the local community says there are fae in there, there are
Mhm.
leprechauns in there, there's a land wight in there, there's a troll in there, and that stuff, they build around it.
Oh yeah.
They literally go out of their way, spend more money, and build
Mhm.
around it. They build land bridges that go over highways so that the wildlife can still traverse their normal terrain and migrate as they're supposed to.
Right.
And we in the States don't typically consider stuff like that. And I it's really weird to me that there's such little consideration for the fact that the Earth is going to be fine, but we may not.
Right.
Um, and whether people want to agree that we're too far gone or that we can't come back from it, that I don't care. We should be trying. I don't think that anything is too far gone. I believe the system of renewal in the Earth is capable of sustaining us if we just try to live with it. And again, we're back on that energy of renewal
Yep.
and the whole the rune that we've been contemplating for the past what almost 2 weeks now because we kept having
Yeah.
to push things back has been Berkana.
Mhm.
Um, and I have to say, for the longest time, I always saw Berkana as just one of the most positive runes of all time. And I think it is. I do think it is. And in the long run, it is renewal. This new beginnings, and new beginnings can be exciting. They can also be scary, but
Mhm.
they are necessary, and they typically come after breaking down of things.
Right.
And that's the part that I guess I didn't consider for quite some time. And in the past few years, it's become more apparent to me of the necessity of decay in life.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a big fan of mushrooms. What can I say? I'm a fun guy. Um, I'm sorry, the
That's fine.
terrible
I
joke.
will always laugh at that joke.
But they serve an integral purpose, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, it's not even the the spores that we see. It's not even the mushroom caps that
Mhm.
we see. The fungus that's actually doing the job is under the surface.
Right.
And I think that is something to consider right there.
Well,
Because
yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
okay, breaking things down manifests outwardly completely different than what's happening on the inside most of the time. You see somebody who is going through that process of decay and breaking down bad habits or something of that nature. You typically are not seeing what is happening inside. You're just seeing the reactions of how it's manifesting in their life
Right.
outwardly. And sometimes it looks awesome and it's just masking. I'm wonderful at masking certain things. My emotions, not so much. Um, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and if I am upset or mad or sad, everybody's going to know it.
Right.
Um, but when it comes to anxiety, I'm usually very good at masking that. I don't know why. I just do.
So
But
very discerning. Being able to decide what to mask and what not to, for sure. Very Berkana energy. But there's
yeah,
there's also playing into what you were saying with the mushroom aspect, and I always equate the aspect of mushrooms and that network of communication with the rune AR, which at some point we'll get into the Anglo-Saxon runes, the Giants runes. But I hadn't really thought about it with Berkana, but it does make sense. You're looking at this network of roots because the birch is always that first tree that comes back. If you're in the right climate zone, I doubt you're getting
right.
a whole lot of them down there, but when it sets the pace, it begins that ecosystem and
Mhm.
restarts that growth. And you're looking at the communication of those roots the same way you look at the mycelium network too. It's all
Mhm.
communication through deterioration, right?
No, absolutely. And I mean, the communication itself is what drives the activity. The mycelium transfers all of this information throughout the underground forest, and all of the trees end up being interconnected and knowing what's
Mhm.
going on, and they know it's time. They
Mhm.
know it's time. We're finally getting that signal. Now let's push through,
Right.
and you start getting those sprouts again. It's wild though, and I think it was you that mentioned this. Is that sometimes they sprout, but something sprouts over it,
Right.
and they end up not making it. But what happens to that sprout that dies off too
Mhm.
young? It's absorbed back into the system.
Right.
Um,
And
but
it's very
overall,
possible it's creating information. We don't know what kind of genetic information that holds that gets put back into the soil and picked up on electrically and
mhm.
transferred into the nervous system of those trees, right?
Yeah, and you can look at it just the same way as when you're going through something in life and you're doing that process of decay, and a lot of people fight it, and they're venting to a friend or a work buddy or whatever, who have you,
Right.
and they're expressing an emotion on something, and the person comes back with the simplest but most profound thing that was exactly what that person needed to hear at that time.
Mhm.
That's the same energy.
Yeah.
It's sharing that information with the community, and this is another thing. We're not as community centric as we used to be.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like people are less wise nowadays because
Right.
of it. We have all this ability to be connected with our phones and the internet, but people are very chopped up into small bits and pieces, and they do a whole lot less of this.
Right. Agreed. The what's always fascinated me, and I didn't really think about it this way until reading some of Ingrid Kincaid's work, the violence of Berkana.
Mm,
We're always like, oh, it's the mother rune, it's this, and it's like, well, yes, it is. It's new, it's spring, it's all these things and so forth. But it's also this element of the violence behind it, the pain that goes into things, at the same time.
mhm.
The pain of childbirth. While I've never
Yeah.
experienced that directly, I definitely have had my hand, in her hand when that was happening. And
Yeah.
if it
Oh,
was
she was
happening,
transferring some of that
oh,
feeling
yeah,
on to you.
absolutely.
um,
Absolutely.
no, I've been in that situation as well, but I also think about like before the forest regrows. Typically, it's either going to have that, and people will probably think of this as less violent when winter comes, but and it's a suffocating more of
Hmm.
an energy, and suffocation obviously has that, or it can happen after a forest fire. It's one of
Right.
the first things that my brain goes to when you think about violence when it comes to regrowth, and the violence is usually part of the beginning, in my opinion.
Hmm.
It is part of that rapid breakdown. It feels like Loki energy,
Yeah.
honestly. The pointing out of the fault. This is wrong. This is something that you need to wipe out of your life. It is the thing that needs to be purified. You
Right.
know what I mean? And after that goes through, and you have all that initial pain and realizations, all that process, finally things come through, and it's not always clean at that point. You're
Hmm.
still pushing, covered in ash,
Yeah.
and you still have to use that ash as fertilizer, but it's still, in too much of it is harmful. That's why you have to push through.
Right. And now I'm sitting here, I always, for some reason or another, try to associate the elements with the runes, right? And some people are successful with it, some people aren't, but just because of the relationship with the birch tree and new life, I've always put it with it as an earth rune.
Same.
But talking about this now, that relationship with fire is just as strong.
Oh yeah.
So, is that, I try not to attach a gender to the runes because I feel that they're very fluid.
Hmm.
But it's interesting to see that duality of the feminine earth energy and the active masculine
Yeah.
energy of Kenaz, which is present
Yeah.
there.
I mean, in my opinion, the runes, some of them have very blatant feminine or masculine traits. This does
Hmm.
not mean that they don't have the opposite, if
Right.
you want to call it that. There's a lot of duality when it comes into the cosmos of Northern Europe, that viewpoint. But I definitely agree with you when it comes down to Berkana. It is absolutely a super Earth energy, but what fire feeds on comes from Earth. It's definitely
Right.
not water. It's definitely not air. I mean, air can help it transfer, but it feeds on Earth and stuff.
Hmm.
So that is what it's going to be, in my opinion. But it is that feminine energy for me, and it's yeah, the masculine fire can really be ravaging on there. Wow, I'd never really put myself into that realm, but that
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to think on that a little bit more. That is fascinating. Um, and I'm not saying there's not saying it's bad or good. It's just is.
Right.
And that's the thing that I'll probably repeat a lot when it comes down to talking about energy itself. And energy is not bad or good. It just is. And how it affects you can be beneficial or it can be malevolent, or if you want to call it malevolent, but beneficial, or what's a better word?
I, I don't know. Whatever. I mean, yeah. How does it interact in your life is really
Yeah,
comes
that's
down
really
to.
what it boils down to. Use that definition.
Yeah, and that was the whole point of this part of the show too, is that taking that rune and walking with it for X amount of time in between episodes, right?
Hmm.
So, like, I don't know, my experiences were fascinating this week. I In my past life of 30 something years, I was a professional chef and as well as a professional brewer, and now I work in death care. I work in a cemetery, and I've been helping a lot of families who have experienced the loss of the matriarch in the family, and it's all has become related to dementia. And it's really had me kind of exploring the relationship of Alzheimer's and dementia, how it affects the body, how it affects the family, um, how it affects our day to day interactions and relationships with the outside world as well as our own personal inner world. And the pain, relief, knowledge that has been shared, because I've gotten some really amazing information as my mother's also going through this similar experience, and it's been helpful to hear some of that. But looking at the conversation we were just having, that whole aspect of the neural network and the synapses and communication between everything, because I always think of the nerves looking like the roots and branches of a tree, right? So, what is this connection? What is the disconnect? How does the brain decide to keep certain things and cut other things out of its memory and existence? We know very little about so much of this, and we,
Oh
we
yeah.
know we know what we're told. There's always new information coming out and experiencing it, but it takes a while. And my experience has been very informative and tragic as I watch families kind of fight amongst each other, the same way that those shoots are trying to reach up and grow.
Well, that makes a lot of sense actually. With the family dynamic, when you have a matriarch leaving the earthly realm, if you want to. each person's position is different now. I'm not trying to say that somebody has to take that matriarchal role. I mean, obviously, eventually that will happen, but
Hmm.
everybody's position within that family has altered significantly, and everybody's trying to figure out what exactly it is, or they're trying to claim a certain position, or they probably don't even realize
Right.
a lot of times what exactly is happening with their relationships, and the energy dynamic with the spirit of that family is going way crazy.
Mhm.
I mean, the matriarch leaves, the family Haminya is going to alter. It's going to probably change form, and it's going to be, and that's going to affect the links to everybody in that ancestral lineage, and what's happening with them um, on Earth.
Right.
That is a wild way to look at it. And again, this is why I love these conversations, because um, we always seem to bring something to each other that goes, "Oh wow,"
Yeah.
you know, that's wild.
Yeah. So that was kind of my big revelation with Berkana over the past few weeks is that relationship with the brain and how everything impacts one another in that respect, and how death can both crush and begin a new growth cycle at the same time.
Hmm.
And it's been a very heavy few weeks, and I've wanted to bring that up to you, but I wanted to save it for the episode too, because I like
Yeah,
I like the actual the real time reactions.
yeah.
But yeah, what about you? What have you experienced during this?
There's a few things that I can't go into complete detail about, but needless, let's just see if I can sufficely just bring it down to. I reached out to somebody that I felt deserved to know something, and instead of having a nice conversation, realization, and a coming to terms, I got shit on. I'm
Hmm.
going to say that a different way just in case you want to edit it. Um, so instead of having a coming to terms and a nice conversation, and just parting ways or something of that nature, they just completely attacked me.
Yeah, that
Um,
sucks, man.
yeah, and the fact is this: there was nothing that I was going to be able to say to this person that was going to make what occurred some time ago better, or anything of that nature. It was just I felt it was the right thing to do, and in the long run, hearing what they had to say was probably good for me.
Right.
Um, it I mean, all I have to say is it was probably good for me. Not only is it going to help me learn more about human condition and the way that people affect each other and their lives and stuff like that, but there were probably a couple of valid points of things that I just needed to hear about myself in there. And I'm still working, going through it. And I do think that I do think that it could have been handled more maturely on somebody else's side, but that's probably just me being like, I was right. And maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I mean, beside that, there have been stuff going on with work, and if anybody knows, I work for the United States Postal Service. I'm in maintenance, and basically, I'm just I'm the post office Hagrid. I'm like the groundskeeper, if you will. Um, I like to say that I'm keeper of keys and grounds at the post office, um, appointed by the head postmaster herself. But
Ooh.
but strictly speaking, I'm not allowed to do magic. But at any rate, there's been a lot of change up with a new boss around, and it's funny to see the way that people deal with such change. And I have seen people throw absolute temper tantrums. I have seen a bunch of pushback, and I have seen people completely deal with it fine. And then I have seen people that are I'm done. And the varying emotions and reactions that you get from people when they're dealing with something that is really just a new beginning is it's just so interesting.
Right.
Um, I think I've dealt with it mostly for like pretty well for the most part. I'm really easy as an employee because just let me know what I need to do and I'll just go do that.
Mhm.
You know, there was an instance where I expressed my viewpoint on something where I wasn't getting a certain amount of hours that I feel like I should have, and I was told that I was wrong, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong, and then my boss said, well, look, I know what I'm talking about, and I come correct and all this stuff, and at some point in the conversation, she said, I do not argue with people when I know I'm right and they are wrong, and I said, oh, I agree. Now, I'll be getting paid for 4 hours that I did not have to work.
All right.
So, but it really comes down to the energy of Berkana. What I have seen is people struggling against inevitability, and rebirth and regrowth is inevitable.
Right.
Um, it is a much easier to accept it and be aware than to do anything else. I feel like awareness eluded me a long time in my life. I sometimes feel like I skated through life when I was young, not committing things to memory and not really having self awareness. I was just doing whatever, wild,
Mhm.
Um, and in the last, 15 years, 20 years, probably 15 years, 40, 15, 16 years, um, I've actually tried to make an active choice and being aware of these things and these changes and how I am going to address them in my life. And it has turned me from a 25-year-old kid with no plan in life to somebody that plays chess with life now. And
Game.
you don't fight what is inevitable, you figure out how to work it.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
How is my
Communication.
sprout? How is my sprout going to find its way through the roots and to the surface, and so I can, you know, pop my leaves out and become a birch tree?
Right. And nurture the ground. Nurture
Uh,
everything that's around you at that point. You have so many
hmm
animals and insects that begin living within.
Yeah.
You're supporting life through your own discernment and your own challenges and
And I look at those energies like that is not like really other people. I look at them as the spirits around
Mhm.
me in life. Um, the energy that I put out there is something that is it affects other people. Just like the silly little bunny rabbit going around my trunk of my tree, it's going to eventually bounce off and go to a different tree somewhere. But if I'm creating a good place for that energy, it will come back and it will help me continue to grow because
right.
that's the way the process works.
Yeah,
Um,
and we we struggle today in our own mindset because you hinted at it yourself, like living with the spirits. And so much we try to rule the spirits, that we try to control them rather than living in community with them, living in
mhm,
relationship with them. We put
mhm.
ourselves above the earth spirits and the spirits of place and all these things. The birch tree, we put ourselves above all of this.
Yeah,
And
people really do.
mhm, which case in point is Ragnarok in my eyes.
Hmm.
It's the Aesir fighting the Jotnar.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
representation
yes.
of humankind trying to challenge and control
Resist the
nature.
inevitable,
Hmm.
and nature is inevitable.
Yeah,
And I really do believe that is at least a good portion of what Ragnarok is about. And it's not just the vision of the Jotnar and stuff like that. It's the losing connection with the balance. around you. Um, but and we're mm, I have this thing and I have a specific way it's worded. I'm trying to remember what it was because I said it a couple of times and I never wrote it down and I should have written it down. Um, there it is. Okay, I'm going to paraphrase myself. Um, but going back full circle to animism and the energy around you and the fact we're talking about renewal and stuff like that and how it really makes you the best way to deal with it is the acceptance of the fact that this cycle is going to happen. It is inevitable. It does not exist because we think it should. It does not, just like the gods, they exist because they must. Animism, in my opinion, requires and begs of you to live in relation to, with regard for, and respect for the universe around you and everything that is in it. If you can do that, whether you realize it or not, you are living animistically.
Yeah.
And it can really change the way that you view everything. And it has for me the idea that when I deal with somebody at just out and about for the day, I'm stopping and I'm random. Okay, I have a cool story. As I've talked about before, I do Viking Age fight reenactment, and I got in a new helmet for it. It's awesome. I love it. I would get it for you right now, but it's all the way across the house. Anyway, so I'm really excited about it, and I am a huge nerd, and I wanted to get something to keep my helmet in because it costs a pretty penny, and it was custom made, and I want to keep it oiled. I want to keep it protected because I see some people and it's all rusty, and I don't want that to ever happen to my helmet. It will one day, but I don't want it to. So anyway, I find this bowling bag on a marketplace app on social media. You know which one? And I message the person, and I get to their house, and this lady is one of the most eccentric people I've ever met in my life. As flighty as can be. If she ever had her marbles, she would have lost those too. But she was also in a really, really low way. When I was randomly chatting with her, she's like, I just want to make sure we get this done before a certain time so I can take my medication because I'm stage 4 colon cancer.
Wow.
Right. So I get there and she is super concerned. She's super stressed because she feels bad because she can't locate the darn bowling bag and whatnot. And we do finally end up getting it, but I can tell that she's just down and sad and exhausted and crappy. And her husband had said to me, yeah, she's going through this. She's not been herself lately and been forgetting a lot of things because of her medication. She feels really bad. And he said something about how he barely sees her smile anymore. And I was like, okay, here's my chance. So when she finally gets the bowling ball bag and she brings it out, and she's like, there's a bowling ball and some stuff in there too, so you can add it to your bowling ball collection and you go bowling. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going bowling. And I took the bowling ball out, and I reached into my car, and I pull out this Viking Age helmet, and I put it into the bowling ball bag. And she's like, what the hell did you just do? And instantly she is just dumbfounded and smiling. And I don't know how much that gave her, but I know it gave me a lot to see somebody that I knew had been down for some time and was obviously suffering to some degree, to smile and to light up. And I really do hope it gave her a funny anecdote to keep telling people over and over again. This guy took a medieval Viking helmet and he put it in the bowling bag, you know? Um, but that's that exchange of
Yeah.
energy that we get with things sometimes. And if I can give somebody just a little bit of happiness here and there, if I can say a random thing that might enlighten somebody a little bit, if I can, um, I don't care if anybody says this is stupid. Um, if I can save a spider from my workshop at work and put it outside, I usually see lizards, but every once in a while a spider. I mean, some people freak out. I saved a duck. not long ago. It was about 2 months ago. It had a broken leg.
Hmm.
People were telling me, yo, just eat it, kill the thing, put it out of its misery, blah blah blah. No, no, man, no. I found a farm. They have ducks. Drove an hour and a half to take this duck to a new farm so it could be in a little lake with a bunch of other
Yeah.
stupid ducks. And they let me know about a week later the leg is mended. It's never going to be the same, but he's going to live out his stupid little duck life. And that just makes me happy. And it changed the duck's life. And
Yeah.
who knows what's going to happen in a year and a half. Some kid's looking at all these ducks, and one of them has a weird waddle to it. And it makes that kid laugh.
Hmm. And that's relationship with Berkana.
And
That's
it's,
relationship with that spirit, that
it's,
discernment, knowing what to cut, knowing what to nurture. It's
it's
all in there.
exactly.
Um, so I gotta ask, because when we were doing the classes on the social media pages a while back,
Yeah.
I posed the question of about movies because to me, whenever I do divination, I always have tendency to make pop culture references because that's how the runes have survived, right? They survive because
Hmm.
they've been allowed to progress through life the same way we have through evolution and how we relate to them. So I'm going to change it up though. What song do you associate with
Phew,
Berkana?
throwing the swerve at me, man. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to start thinking about this more often and prepping for these questions because you always get me, and I feel like I never seem to have one. So you were going with the movie and with the new viewpoints that I've had on Berkana. I was actually gonna go Never Ending Story.
Hmm.
A good one,
Interesting.
right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of breakdown, there's a lot of decay, and then there is that bright moment at the end where things
Hmm.
push through and it comes together. So
Oh yeah.
no,
Wow.
there's a song in Neverending
Dude.
Story too.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you
Okay.
could rock that if you want, but
Okay.
where's your music? Where's your song for Berkana? Because fuck man, I got to think about the never ending story.
Oh,
You got me.
man, you
Oh, there's so
really
much.
you got me on the spot here. I'm so bad with stuff like this. Um, you go first and let me contemplate.
You want me to go? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, yeah. You go
It's,
first. Let me contemplate.
so mine is live. Lightning crashes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I can see that. All right. Um. I was hoping you were going to elaborate more, so I had more time to think.
Nope. I want no. The thing is I
um.
want people to go and listen to these songs. I want them
There
to.
is one by I want to say it's by the Longest Johns. And I think it's a great allegory for modern paganism, and I can't remember the name of the song specifically. I'm probably going to say it while I'm doing the saying the lyric, but basically the chorus is you can tend to the flames. Oh wait, I will tend to the flames. You can worship the ashes.
I like it.
You know what song I'm thinking of, I'm
I
sure.
do.
Um,
I want to look the lyrics up to that. And that's kind of the thing is I want people to hear these song titles and be like,
yeah.
I've never heard that, and go
Okay, so
listen to
the
it. Right?
next rune that we do, I'm gonna pick a movie and a song beforehand, and then you're gonna come back to me and you're like, "What book?" I
Oh
just
no,
know
it'll just get weirder and weirder. Like, what dessert do you think?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay,
You go to
desserts.
Starbucks. What coffee are you getting? That reminds you of
um,
Algiers, right?
but I think that's a great way to look at energy like Berkana is to remember that it's about fostering what is keeping you going, what is going to keep you warm, the fire, rather than sit back and worry about and be upset about the fact that everything you knew was burnt down.
Right.
Um, it got burnt down for a reason, man.
Hmm.
Now grow. So yeah, I think that's a good one for there. Yeah.
True story. Well, pull next time. Let's do it.
Okay.
No, what's yeah? Let's pull the next rune, man. What's
Oh
going
yeah.
on? Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
what are we working on for the next episode? What's and the whole thing is we're doing this in our story, right? This is as we pull these. This is the experiences that we're having, our story that needs to be told. We started with Berkana, which seems very fitting, right?
Yes. All right. Okay. Here we goes. I'm gonna pull this week and my bag. Ooh. Make sure it's nice and shiny for you.
Oh, great. So the other day, I was taking a service out, and I have a rune playlist on my Spotify. And every once in a while, I use that as a divination tool. Like, what am I supposed to be focusing on? What do I need to be aware of for
Hmm. Hmm.
the upcoming day or for the week? Right? What energies could be coming out? And no joke, I'm sitting there waiting for the funeral procession, and I'm like, what should our next rune be? And I turn it on, and Hagalaz shows up. And it also started to hail and snow shortly
Oh,
after that.
wonderful. Yeah.
So I kind of tossed that aside, thinking that, oh, that was just situational. It was telling me to bring an umbrella or some shit. And
Yeah.
then you go and pull that.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
That's fantastic, and truthfully, it makes a lot of sense for the way the energy has been turning a little bit lately, and this is going to be an interesting week to say the least. Um, so prepare to submit.
oh, okay, okay. Because I need more of
um,
that in my life right now. That's
I know, but I think we're gonna find some decent correlation with
yeah,
Berkana and Hagalaz's energy, and I think it's really cool that we're doing them completely out of order because without doing them out of order, we wouldn't be comparing these
right.
two right now. So that's awesome. Um, I am terrified of this upcoming week.
See what happens.
Well, I think we've gone through over some great stuff today.
Yeah.
I really do hope that anybody that decided to watch has gained something from it. I really hope that we get some input from any of our viewers as well, whether it be positive or negative. I
Mhm.
want to hear your thoughts, or at least read them. And until next time, onward and upward. Excelsior.
Have a good night. See you
Take
later, man.
care.